after going every single day, I slowly worked myself to being the best in class. The instructor was like, hey, everybody, look at Mark, how he does his push-ups, or look at him do his pull-ups or his kicks. And I was always the example. And I'm like, damn, I'm actually pretty good. And I'm like, wait, how did I even get here? I'm like, I had no idea of how I got there because I was always like head down, showing up every single day. And you don't actually notice that growth until you look back. I think just taking that lesson into real estate, I'm like, stop trying to like feel like you're getting better and just put your head down and work every single day. You're not going to notice it until you actually look back. I think now, looking back in my first couple weeks in real estate, that's when I feel a little bit better. But I don't feel better like from yesterday or the day before. Matter of fact, sometimes you feel a little bit worse. But I think that's kind of what it was. Is like head down, show up every single day, do the work. And in years, you might feel different.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Headed Home Podcast. We are your hosts, Andrew and Jen. What's up, babe?
We got Mark here today.
Mark, yes. What is up, my friend? Thank you for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Mark Acevedo here. You want me to say a little bit about myself?
Tell us about you. I know we met each other we were on opposite sides of a transaction. We were helping a buyer. You were working on the listing side. It was a beautiful listing. Did a great job with it. Your communication was top notch. And it was just really good to work with you. And we looked you up after the transaction. See, you're doing a lot of, transactions out there, and you're doing a lot on social media as well. So we invited you to be on. But yeah, tell our audience like a little bit more about you and how long have you been in the real estate industry as well?
Yeah, so it's funny that you say about social media because I think that has been one of my strengths as far as like when it comes to business. But I really feel like I'm not doing even near as enough. So when you said, hey, you want to be on a podcast, I'm like, content? Like, yes, all day,
Yeah.
So basically, I got in the real estate industry probably, it's going to be about 2 years since I actually got my license. But the, school, of course, started in 2022.
Okay.
So I worked through all the way 2023, got my license. And so I really like the real estate industry because I came from an automotive industry.
Okay.
I was in the automotive industry as an entrepreneur. I was working on, I had my own clients and my own customers and stuff. But man, that is just such tough work. So I'm like, man, I got to scale this business. And I listen to podcasts too of like, big people that I look up to, and they're always talking about scaling and all that. I don't know if you know Alex Hormozy is like one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm to go back to my partner, which is my brother, and he's like, hey man, we got to scale this business. And he was more like hey, let's take a chill, like keep it in the family. We get people involved, there could be more problems. What if they mess something up and then we get sued?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I'm not going to keep doing this forever. I'm like, so that's kind of what led me into jumping into real estate, because I was like, well, what can I do where I can use my business entrepreneurship skills but make the most out of it, make the most money possible. And so I was going to be a realtor. That was my plan, is to become a realtor, and things have shifted. It's because of the brokerage I joined.
Well, I was going to say the automotive industry, you mentioned like having your own clients. Like what exactly were you doing in that industry?
So I was actually souping the cars up, which was like my dream job, since the first Fast and the Furious came out,
Yeah.
And so growing up, my dad wanted me to be in school. I'm a first generation. My parents, they're immigrants, and, like most immigrants, they come in the United States and try to get their kids into college. And they're like, well, don't work. We'll pay for your college, this and that. And I turned 16, and my older brother was, working and having money. I'm like, man, I want money. And my dad's like, no, you ain't getting a job. I'm like, but I kind of want money. I'm like, I need a car. He's like, I'll buy you a car. And, the car he was going to get me was the one I wanted. I wanted a Honda Civic. He was going to give me a Nissan Sentra.
Hey, that's so funny. You had a Honda Civic and I had a Nissan Sentra.
You did.
Sorry, keep going, Mark.
That explains my point.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Civic's more manly than the Sentra.
Right, there you go.
You got to get the exhaust on it though, too. Yeah.
Yeah, that
cold air intake, I think, was my addition to it.
We probably have very similar backgrounds.
Probably. Yeah.
So my Civic. I didn't listen to my dad. I'm like, I'm at work. I want money, and I didn't care where I was going to work. Anywhere's hiring. At 16 years old, I was applying.
Yeah.
And I started off at Taco Bell. Then I went to a restaurant. Then I was in Chipotle, and I finally turned 18. I'm like, heck yeah! Now I can work at a dealership. because their like lowest age is 18. Started washing cars, moved up to changing oil. Then I moved up to being an actual tech. That's when I learned how to pull these motors out, pull the transmission out, got my own toolbox. I was learning a lot, but wasn't only getting paid like $13 an hour, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's what kind of jumped me into, you know, doing the whole automotive entrepreneur, like by myself. Was like, hey, I was working at Subaru, and I'm instead of getting paid $300-$400 to do the motor swap, I can charge the whole thing and make $2,000 or $3,000. And that's how I kind of slowly started. But we were always into cars since those like Civic days, and my brother ended up getting a Saleen Mustang, which then brought different kind of attention to us, and people were bringing us their Mustangs to work on. And so we slowly but surely started getting more clients. I opened up an Instagram page. That's when I really started working. I'd go out and hand out business cards. And so then that's kind of, since those Civic days when we turned 16, we've always been in like the aftermarket world, like putting in the cold air intakes and stuff. Yeah. The cold air intake, even though it was getting hot air from the top.
I know. I never understood how it worked. I just liked the way it sounded.
Exactly. You turn it off.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually we ended up getting into like actual, you know, performance and modifications. And so then my brother got a Mustang. I ended up getting a Corvette, and we're here putting turbochargers, superchargers. We're going out racing, and, you know, 800 to 1,000 horsepower is what kind of where we're at generally for ourselves and our clients.
Yeah.
And that's like a dream job. We're souping these cars up. We're getting paid full, you know, we're not working for anybody. But that's kind of what we were doing, you know, for the last, I guess before that, we were always in it for like 6 years as far as the business has grown. So since like 2018, 2019.
Hypothetically speaking, if you were driving a car over a curb and happen to like have part of your siding fall off of your car, how hard is it to like pop back on yourself?
Oh man, it's probably ruined.
Well, no,
you're in trouble.
No,
man.
let's say you got a new part and it just has to be put on. Is it like Legos where I could just like click it on and it'll like
sometimes?
Yeah.
Oh, babe, I could do it.
It's probably gonna be easy. Yeah.
Okay.
You got the part, right?
I did.
What part is it? I guess it depends.
I don't know.
Is it a plastic part?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some plastic parts are pretty easy to work with. I worked at an Audi dealer, which it was scary because I had to pull a lot of plastic panels out on expensive cars, but I got used to it. But honestly, like doing the whole performance shop stuff, we would never really touch body, so I couldn't be the one.
Yeah.
I could tell you how to like increase your motor 100 horsepower, you know.
There you go.
Here's the best part, Mark. So I just have to tell you the story real fast. So I ran over a curb, lost the part. Like, I don't even know where it went. So I went to the Ford dealership, got another part, put it in our garage, and someone
right by the recycling bin.
Oh.
And it was like a super light box.
So
and you
nothing in there.
I know. I didn't think there was anything in there. I threw it out. And it wasn't.
Threw it out.
It was kind of expensive too.
Yeah, it was like $250.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
dang.
know.
So then I had to go buy another part and like call the dealership. They're like, "You need another one?" I was like, I don't even know how to explain what happened.
I guess next time just throw it in the trunk or inside of the car.
Right?
That's what we do at the shop. There's boxes everywhere. Like, how do we not get this mixed up? Just throw it in the car.
I know. All right.
So
Well, lesson
little
learned.
piece of advice.
Lesson learned.
Little piece
Oh gosh.
Okay.
That's so funny.
So you were doing that. You then decided, okay, I want to scale. You know, I want to do something where you know, I can build more and kind of branch out. So you got into real estate. Was that a hard decision because you were working with your brother, which is a family, you know, connection? Was it hard to like branch out and say, hey, I'm going to go do this on my own?
Yeah.
And was there any pushback from him?
For sure, yeah. From him, you know, from my dad, because at the time I was paying. So the shop is actually in my parents' like land. They have like a ranch style house and like 2 acres, and they put a shop there. So I'm paying my dad rent to be able to let me work here, you know. And so to just say, hey, I'm not going to pay you rent anymore. You know, I'm going to go find something else. You know, what are you going to do? How are you going to make money? And not only that, but I just had a baby. Well, this was 2 years ago. So she was 1. My first daughter was 1 year old. And, you know, I'm over here telling my wife, hey, I'm going to try something different. And everyone's looking at me like I'm crazy. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to get somewhere you're going to get paid the first 2 weeks? Like, no, I'm going to become a realtor. How do you make money there?
Commission.
You know, it's like, well, I mean, people say you won't make your first check for 6 months to a year. Like, so what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I'm not going to do this for the rest of my life. So if that doesn't work out, I'll just come right back. You know,
Mhm.
there's nothing to lose here. You know, maybe, it might have to go a couple days with the rent being paid late or whatever it may be. I
Yeah.
just knew I don't like thinking like that. Like since I was younger, I'd quit a lot of jobs and I just jump right into the next one and I'd figure it out, whatever. And sure, there is like a what if, but I don't like to think about those what ifs because I like to think, well, what if this works? Where can we be if it works? Because if it doesn't work, yeah, sure, we can talk about bad list all day long. But if it does work, think about all the good that can happen. It's like, does it outweigh it? And I'm like, I think so. So I was like, it is what it is. I'm going to just make the jump. It wasn't too hard, I think, because I know I had to start the school, first. And so if you go to coloradorealestateschool.com, they'll let you do like a free class. And so I was like sitting there at the parking lot of Chipotle on my phone, doing this free class. And they're like, starts off talking about like how real estate even started way back in the day. I'm like, okay. And at the end, I make you take a quiz. I'm like, okay, I can do this. It seemed a little bit interesting, And so that's kind of what made me jump in. So I was working the performance job. And then later at night, I'd go to Starbucks and be on the computer for like a couple hours while I did the school stuff.
So you were committed though. Like you were grinding.
Yeah.
And you had a baby.
And I just had a baby too to take care of. And I recently moved out of my parents too. So there was a lot to lose, I guess. But I don't know. I had that support. I guess in my mind, what helped me was, hey, if things, go to shit, we allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If things go to shit, then I know that my parents have this house on, this 2-acre land and it's paid off. They're not making mortgage payments on this. And the house is pretty big. There's a lot of rooms that aren't, utilized. Shit hits the fan.
I can sleep in the front yard.
We get evicted or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't bring it up to my parents, but in my mind, and even still to this day, I still that's my worst case always. It's like, hey, my parents have space. Their house is paid off. I know I can go in there and go in their guest bedroom that has a guest bathroom in it. Like basically it has a full unfinished basement that, So that's kind of what helped me is like, well, worst case scenario, I ain't going to live on the streets. I'm going to be with my parents and they're probably going to let me spare, $100 here or there, which thankfully we haven't even gotten close to that.
Yeah.
But I think that's what helped me actually make the jump. It's like, hey, how bad could it really get?
Right. But you jumped into an industry at a time because you said 2 years ago is when you got in. So I've been in lending for 15 years. In 2010 through 2020, it was really good. It was a really good market. The home prices were not as high as they are right now. Interest rates were relatively low.
It was reasonable.
2022, 2023, 2024, like home prices are elevated. Property taxes have gone up. Homeowners insurance is up. Interest rates are twice as high as they were in 2020, 2021. So it was a challenging market too. But it sounds like, you've been able to, you obviously have been able to like make a career out of it. How long did it take you after getting in to feel like, okay, I can actually like make it in this industry? I don't have to move back home.
So honestly, like I was so committed at the time to my, fixing the cars up and making sure that the clients were, happy with their performance modifications that I didn't even study the real estate market. I never, ever studied. Well, what I know is that my dad bought 2 houses in 2008 as a rental properties, and that was a good move for him. But that's as far as I know about real estate. Because when I got in and I got my license and I started shadowing one of the agents, he was like, man, this is just it's a bad time. The market's shit. Interest rates are at almost 8%. And, no one's buying. And I'm like, really? Like, this is shit? I'm like, okay, well, I don't know any better. So I can only learn from here, and so it can only get better from here. And I actually thought it was a great time to jump in because all these agents are slow enough to where they can actually help me. I can come into any of the offices and just, ask a question to an agent and everyone's just kind of slower or dead that they're there to help me. No one's moving too fast to help, So I thought it was a better time to jump in. But I guess I don't know what a shitty market looks like. If this is a shitty market, then this is what I'm used to, And so,
but it's all, I love that though, because it's all kind of relative. Like it's your perspective. And like you said, it sounds like the mindset that you had going in was like, I'm going to find the opportunities in this market. And that's okay. We've got agents around that can help because they're a little bit slower. And you're learning. And I think also like a lot of agents that had been around when real estate was maybe a little bit easier, they were like burned out and they didn't want to work that hard too,
Yeah. Yeah. For
Yeah.
sure.
So,
That's interesting. That's kind of like you when you came in. You came
Yeah.
in kind of after.
yeah, after the crash.
Yeah.
And then it was like, everyone was like, yeah, how can you get loans done in this market? And I was like, same thing. I was like, I don't know any better.
Right.
This is just
but
like
that's,
what I
you
do.
use that to your advantage though.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's like they're saying, I don't know if it goes well with what we're talking about, but they say ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
And I think just not knowing, the other side of it was what kind of helped me. Like you said, perspective wise, like I don't know what a shitty market. So what is there to panic about?
Yeah.
I'm fresh. What is there to compare to? And so it took a while. I was doing the car stuff just to be able to like pay my bills, but then like half the day, like at 1:00, I'd go to the office, go to the shop, go to the office every single day, and then this projects at the shop weren't getting done because I wasn't there full time, and then I wasn't really learning or getting clients, as a real estate agent because people are seeing on my social media, oh, well, he's a technician. Oh, he's actually an agent. And some people are getting confused about what I actually do because I'm still trying to promote the shop to get money in. I'm like, man, what do I do? And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to just start promoting myself as an agent and we'll start there. And I didn't actually make like my first dollar until like about 7 months in. So I started 2023, August, September, October, November, December, January. Yeah, it was about 7 months where I got my first check. And luckily it was a pretty decent wholesale check to where I was like, oh, okay, this is a nice check. I can actually now go full time into real estate. And so I didn't touch another car. I mean, I probably finished up some projects, but in my mind, I was already checked out of there. And I used that for my bills for like the next 6 months because then I didn't get my actual next deal until the following July, which would be a whole year of me being in real estate. So for a whole year, I only got a wholesale check halfway through. And then in the very end, I got a buyer's, my very first buyer. And it was almost a year into being in real estate. And so I was like, I had some reserve. And then right before I got a deal, that reserve would be gone. And I guess it's still kind of like that. I don't have buyers like flooding my phone or anything, at least not yet. I'm still working on that. But I think things actually started to change when I started flipping homes. And that's when it was like, oh, okay, I can do more. And I'm kind of more used to that side of business because flipping homes, you're kind of on the outside and you're not really there to please anybody. You're just making sure the project gets done. Same thing with the cars. I'm not there to please anybody or try to, be nice when I don't feel like being nice, Right. And so I'm used to that kind of back of the house, working, make sure the project gets done, boom, on your own terms and, doing it that way. So I think once I got into fixing and flipping, I saw more light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, talk about that. Like, how did you decide to kind of like get into fix and flips?
So from that first wholesale deal, my dad was asking me, so hold on, wait a second. What did you do there? I'm like, well, I took this distressed property and I took the contract and I sold the contract to another investor. And my dad started thinking, so he was like, so you're telling me that you could have gave me that property and I could have for a profit? I'm like, I mean, yeah, essentially you could have. He says, well, like what can we do there? And I started asking around and my brokerage, Megastar Realty, they're pretty well known for being off market, fixing, flipping, wholesaling, junior lien positions, all this other stuff that you'd never hear of in a brokerage. That's kind of why I joined it because the people at Keller Williams would never even talk about wholesaling or fixing and flipping. And so that's when my dad brought up the idea and I'm like, okay, well, how about next time, I pass them over to you. And I started asking questions and some agents were like, well, how about you guys get a HELOC? I'm like, what's a HELOC? And you pull some money out of your line of credit. So he has this ranch home that's probably worth like 1.2 mil. And we took a HELOC out of that and he bought I guess I put it under my LLC because I had the experience. He just kind of gave me the money and in September. And then we sold it in December and then made a pretty good profit off of that.
And then paid the HELOC back, profited on top of that.
Yep. And that's kind of where we started rolling the ball because I was like, so my dad's like, oh, yeah, hey, I have enough money for 2 homes. I'm like, okay, well, hold on. I have an idea. How about you let me borrow the money, and I'll pay you back some interest. and get me going on my fix and flip journey. He's like, okay, yeah, doesn't
Yeah.
sound like a bad idea. He's like, you did help me fix my, first flip. And so that's kind of where I got it, started flipping. I was like, hey, Dad, let me borrow some money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's smart too.
That's cool.
And so do you I guess you just probably hire the contractors out then? Like, you don't do the work yourself, right?
Yeah. No, a lot of people tell me, they're like, hey, just GC it yourself and call people individually and save some money, because if you hire just one solid individual GC, he's going to charge you, he's going to upcharge like 20-30% on it. But then I heard this podcast from other fix and flippers who are deep into the game, and they don't have a pickup truck at all. They sit in the back of their Maybach and, on their laptop all day. I'm like, I want to be that flipper. I don't want to be the flipper in the Ford Raptor that shows up to Home Depot at 6 a.m. to get some lumber.
Yeah.
I want to be the one in the Maybach, doing this. And so, they kind of tell you, just trust your GC, make sure he's a solid dude, kind of get involved with him. But it's okay to pay him a little extra as long as you're not, touching your hand and getting your hands dirty and you're making your profit. And so I did find a GC who takes everything done, takes care of everything. I'm like, I don't even want to pick colors. I don't even want to pull up to Home Depot to, decide which cabinets are better, And I'm like, you do you, just text me, this color or that color, and that's it. I don't even want to show up to the property at all.
Yeah.
And so, I'm paying a GC like a little bit over, you would say, to get the stuff done. But I want to do that because then I can still focus on trying to get buyers and sellers on my time. And so
you're kind of doing the fix and flip thing just to have going in the background, but then also trying to just market out and do regular, first time home buyers or buying, selling.
Yeah, I think first time home buyers is probably where I've been getting a little bit better at, because they're easier to work with. They're easier to kind of convince that you're the man for the job. Whereas if you're showing up to a listing appointment for a $1 million home, they've already probably interviewed a few realtors. So you like really actually got to be your best. Whereas first time home buyers is pretty basic. You'll say stuff like concessions or, hey, interest rate buy down. And they're like, oh man, he knows everything. Let's go with him,
Yeah, that's what they need to know though. What would a piece of advice maybe that you'd give to first time home buyers out there in the market right now? Like, what do you think is important for them to know?
It sounds like salesy, but I'm like, don't do what everyone else is doing. Because right now, Trump gets on the microphone and everybody just freezes and halts, and they're like, oh my God, like, let's wait. What is Trump going to do? This and that. And everyone's at a halt right now. And if you guys haven't noticed, you can probably get a really, really good deal right now on a home, bring the price down, get seller concessions, get your closing costs covered, get an interest rate buy down. And I would say right now it'd be like a really good time to buy is when no one's buying. I think that's when you should be buying, because what's going to happen maybe 2 years later, interest rates come down, prices come up. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, man, I should have bought in 2025 when I could have got such a good deal and this and that. And I always hear it. And I'm like, the same people who are waiting to buy right now are the same people who bought Bitcoin when it was at 100,000.
Yeah.
They're doing what everybody else is doing. And it's, you really got to time the market. And I say right now is be a really good time. And just don't be scared, because your first home is not your forever home. And people are just like a little too picky. They're like, oh, it doesn't have a pantry. I'm like, yes, but if this is your first home, you're going to sell it. Like, trust me, you're going to sell this house. And I would say just get in now.
Well, and like you said, like there's deals to be had, like with the concessions. That was unheard of in 2020 and 2021. And it was still rare before that. Now, like the fact that it's as common as it is, from a buyer's perspective, you can get in with much lower out of pocket because the seller's paying your closing costs and prepaid expenses potentially. And you also have leverage in the contract too. You're not like waiving the inspection deadline and waiving the appraisal deadline, so you've got more leverage than you've had over the past few years.
Yeah. I mean, that before
we need to buy another place, babe.
I know. I was just sitting here thinking like,
yeah, really, like honestly, you can get such a good deal right now.
Having 2 young kids is a lot. But how do you feel like you have continue to like focus on habits or routines that you have to do to be successful, like along with like balancing or navigating this like family piece too?
Yeah, I think it's played a big part. I think as far as how I think and what my goals are, because I feel like I've always had this kind of ambition to be the best. Like even when I was a kid in elementary school, I would always make sure that I was the last one on the pacer test. Like I always had this competitive drive, and something weird happened when I had my first daughter. Is I like instantly stopped sleeping in without even trying. Like I remember seeing parents, and I'm like, dang, it must suck to like force yourself out of bed and do all these things because you have kids and stuff. But it was so weird to me that when I had my first daughter, it wasn't forced. It was like instantly like get up, go to work, and make money. And before I would sleep in until like maybe 10, 11, stay on my phone.
Yeah.
Be such a drag. I'm like, oh, how much cars do I have to work on a day? I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this done. And when I had a daughter, I was like, I didn't even think about it. It wasn't forced at all. It was so natural to just get things done and whatever. And now having two, it's like, I think it's double it now. Cause now I'm like, okay, well now I can't even like be a little bit hungover like at all because 7 a.m. on Sunday,
you will freaking pay.
It's hard.
Yeah. I've thought about a lot of like what I do, and I don't know. It's just made me like just make better decisions, I guess. Give me way bigger drive, bigger goals too. Like before I had a kid, I was like, I just want a little apartment and like a cool car, and that's about it. And now like I got 2 kids, I'm thinking about what's the biggest house I can get right now, and like how much car garages. Like I need acres. I need this. I need a boat. And I need a razor too, because I need a 4-seater razor because I have 2 kids and I need them to have fun and like all this stuff I wouldn't think about before,
Yeah.
So it's definitely
it does change your perspective on stuff for sure.
It's been a huge like part, I think.
So you mentioned always having that competitive drive and that like almost belief in yourself that you've got greatness in you. Where do you think that came from?
It's a good question.
Because not everybody has it.
I think, I don't know if it was like actually natural, because I guess you only live once, so you don't know like what exactly it was, if it's actually something that's natural or not. But I'm pretty sure it has a lot to do with my dad putting me in karate at a young age. When I was 11, he put me in karate, and I had 2 older brothers who were actually like going in at the same time. And by the time we were like 13-ish, my 2 other brothers are like, man, screw this. I don't want to keep showing up to class. Like, we got to exercise and do jumping jacks and like all this stuff. And so we all kind of got out. I followed my older brothers. We all got out. And I just kept watching YouTube videos of like Karate Kids and stuff like that. I watched a Karate Kid movie. Classic. And I'm like, man, that's like so cool to be able to kick somebody in the face, So I went back into the karate by myself. By the time I turned 16, I could drive myself to different gyms. And I started doing MMA at different gyms. And I started practicing like pretty, like consistently, and, just getting hit in the face and not being scared and being composed. And I've noticed that going to high school is like, I wouldn't be scared of anybody. And I'd walk around and, people were like, oh, that guy's mean or this and that. And I'm like, what guy? I'm like, please, like I knew from the people that I've actually like trained with and I've actually like rolled with on the ground and boxed with. I'm like, I used to beat up bigger guys and I used to toss over and armbar bigger dudes. I'm like, you're telling me some high school bully that's had no training is scary? I'm like, I don't care if he has big muscles. I'm like, it even makes it easier for me to choke him out, And so I always like walked around like, like, what's up?
Yeah.
And my friends noticed it too. Yeah. And my friends knew I trained, like, oh, Mark, how do you get out of this? And I'm like, bro, get off me. Just flip him over. But I think that's where it came from, is just kind of like knowing that I could take on more than, and I guess that's what it was, like grappling and choking bigger people out is probably what made me think I'm so big.
Yeah.
And I can still, I guess I still walk around with that confidence. I'll train here and there, not as much, but I still got it in me,
Yeah. No, that's
awesome.
I think that's where it came from.
Well, and I think that, like probably like, built some confidence up, but also like with the mixed martial arts, it's a discipline too. So it like teaches you, to go through hard things, short-term pain, long-term gain type thing. I mean, do you attribute any of your success in business and in real estate to lessons you've learned training MMA?
Yeah. I think just being patient and showing up every day is kind of like a big one for me, because since I started karate, I put myself back in when I was probably 15, 14 or 15. And I would go every single day. And, we'd practice the same moves, same kicks, and we do the same stretches. And I went from blue belt to green belt, from green belt to brown belt. And then I got my second brown belt. And I actually because I was like 16 or 17, and I actually started like feeling like a badass, I was like, after going every single day, I slowly worked myself to being the best in class. And that's when the instructor was like, hey, everybody, look at Mark, how he does his push-ups, or look at him do his pull-ups or his kicks. And I was always the example. And I'm like, damn, I'm actually pretty good. And I'm like, wait, how did I even get here? I'm like, I had no idea of how I got there, because I was always like head down, showing up every single day. And you don't actually notice that growth until you look back.
Totally.
And I think
true.
I think just taking that lesson into real estate, I'm like, stop trying to like feel like you're getting better and just put your head down and work every single day. You're not going to notice it until you actually look back. And I think now, looking back in my first couple weeks in real estate, that's when I feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
But I don't feel better like from yesterday or the day before.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, sometimes you feel a little bit worse, But I think that's kind of what it was, is like head down, show up every single day, do the work. And in years, you might feel different. You might be better. And I think
you're at your, quote unquote, new identity is built in that like everyday consistent work. It's not you just decide like saying or proclaiming that you're, something. It's really like those sort of like insignificant things that you're doing every day, just like routinely, is really where you're like building stuff. And I think when you look at it in a little piece, like you don't see it.
You don't. Not at all.
But then you like what, like
but
you
that's
said.
but that's the way. Like,
right.
Marry the process, divorce the result.
Totally.
Right? Because then you're not tied to an outcome.
Yeah.
All you're tied to is, what am I going to do? What is the positive habit?
Today?
What do I have to do today?
Yeah.
That's good advice.
What do you have? What's next on the horizon for goals for your career, or like any cool things coming up that you are super excited about?
We're going to buy a house this year, towards the end of the year. And that's great, for my family. I love it. But I'm not really at home a lot,
Yeah.
I go there, I have dinner. Sometimes I'm there on, like, my lady, she likes to go out on Sundays. I'm like, I'm trying to stay in, like, get my money's worth, like I lay on this couch for once,
Yeah.
But something that I think about every day, and it's kind of funny, like being a car guy.
Andrew feels that way too, by the way.
I feel that.
Like,
you're always like, let's go. I'm like, what do we got on the agenda? I'm trying to chill.
I'm trying to feel this couch out for the first time.
Ever. Yeah.
It was like, oh my lady's like, we're always home. Like, let's go somewhere. I'm like, all right.
That's so funny.
But something that's on my mind on a daily basis these days, because I'm a car guy, and I feel like I want a nice car. And so my goal by the end of the year, when I turn 29, is to get a McLaren.
Really?
Yeah, I know. Crazy purchase.
Stars.
Crazy purchase. I know I can do a whole lot more with that money. But I don't know. It's just me. That's me being me. I've loved cars since day one, since the Honda Civic days, where I would work my ass off just to be able to go and buy this Honda Civic that I put hours and hours of work, like Taco Bell hours. I don't know how much Taco Bell hours that was. I don't know how many 5-layer burritos that was, but I knew that I was going to use that money to get a car. And when I did, it was like the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
And it's funny that I still stay true to that, because a lot of things have shied away as I grew up. Like, I don't watch football anymore. I don't watch UFC anymore like I used to, sadly. But that was one thing that's still stuck with me. It's just the cars, driving a nice car and getting out of the gym and pulling up to your nice whip and turning it on, and the exhaust sounds so nice every single time. It's like, that's been a driver for me. So I'm like, man, let me get this McLaren, and I told my lady, and she's like, oh, we could do something better with that money. I'm like, I know, I know. But I'm like,
you have to tell her that you will go out on Sundays in the car with her. Like,
yeah. Some date nights, we'll take Paul to valet, to a nice restaurant.
Totally.
I mean, what does a McLaren run? Like, what is...
McLarens in general, they're pretty pricey, like $200K plus. But the one I want is a pretty entry level. It's a 570. And you can get a 570 used for around like 140-ish. But I'm like, since I know mechanics, and I'm okay with getting a more higher mileage car, because if the fucking transmission falls off or whatever,
You
it
know
stops
what to do.
working. I'm not going to take it to the dealer and pay
Right.
20 grand. I'm going to, take it to my shop and I'm going to start working on it. And I'm going to ask my cousin to, hey, throw me a transmission from overseas for $1,000. Boom, get it done. So I'm not scared about high mileage cars. So I'm planning to spend around like 100,000. I'm planning to put 20,000 down, and my payment should be close to like 1,800 a month. And if everything goes well with my real estate game, my fix and flips, I want to do more wholesales. $2,000 a month should be no big deal.
Oh man, we're rooting for you, dude.
Okay, I have the most
that.
important question of the whole thing to close us out. 2 very important questions. You worked at Taco Bell and Chipotle, correct?
Oh, yep.
What's your
can't even compare? Don't ask him to compare the two.
I'm
Chipotle.
not.
Okay.
Will you
All
just
right.
shut? Let me ask my damn question.
Who has better Mexican
Okay,
food?
no. Well, that's actually a great question. If
No,
you were gonna, let's
Chipotle
start there.
all day,
Just,
bro.
If you're gonna
Come
start
on.
there, who do you choose? Chipotle or Taco Bell? At the end of the
Chipotle.
day, okay.
Easy.
These are my follow-up questions. If you are going through the Taco Bell drive-through, what are you ordering?
Oh, probably a beefy 5-layer. Pair that up with a Doritos crunchy taco and a Baja
Ooh.
Blast. Cannot forget the Baja Blast.
I've never had a Baja Blast.
You've never had Baja Blast?
I've never had a Baja Blast.
No.
See, I
Have
don't eat
you-
at Taco Bell. It's been a long time since I've eaten at Taco
How
Bell.
was the last time you went to Taco Bell?
My son and I went when you were out of town. We went.
What do you
But
get?
here's the thing.
Yeah,
How do
what'd
you
you
go to
get?
Taco Bell?
Can I
and-
tell you something?
Maybe I have had a Baja Blast. Is that like the soft taco? Oh, that's the drink?
the drink?
Oh, okay. I have had a Baja Blast.
I have
before.
not,
The
but
Blue Mountain Dew.
No, I haven't had it.
okay.
But I literally, since I was a kid, like just give me an order of like a few crunchy tacos with hot sauce. I'll stray. I'll try other stuff. There's nothing better.
I'm gonna let you in on something.
Is this
and
gonna ruin my crunchy taco order?
It might
Damn.
at Taco Bell because I used to love Taco Bell. We used to go all the
All
time,
right.
and we started doing taco night.
Okay.
Go to the King Supers. They sell the Taco Bell seasoning for the meat. Get real ground beef. Cook the ground
That's what
beef
we
with the
do.
Taco Bell seasoning.
Okay.
And then King Supers also sells the sauce too. Unless you want to drive to your local Taco Bell store and pick up a bunch of sauce from there. Because you need the sauce. You can't just have a
Yeah,
crunchy
you have
taco.
to have the sauce.
And King Supers also sells the Taco Bell like whitened nacho cheese or even the Cool Ranch tacos. Bake those up, put some ground beef in there, sour cream, like cheese, lettuce, whatever you want. And oh my God, you'll taste Taco Bell again and it'll taste like straight dirt. Like,
really?
This
All
is
right.
like a-
You got to
Mark,
do that.
This is perfect.
it's
This
the
is
best
great.
Taco Bell ever is a
Okay.
homemade Taco Bell with real ground beef.
Love
Because
it.
you look at the taco like, oh, it's real ground beef. You go to Taco Bell after that,
Yeah.
you're like, what the heck is that?
You're like, what is
You're like, that's not ground beef.
What is happening?
It's not
Okay,
ground beef.
Done. We'll try it.
What was your
Okay.
Chipotle question?
I want to know what he orders at Chipotle.
Oh, yeah. What's your Chipotle
like,
go-to?
Like this is like we have inside information, right?
So I used to love burritos. I used to have a burrito like every single day,
Okay.
especially working at Taco Bell. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, working at Chipotle, you get a free entree.
Yeah.
And I just, even on my days off, I'd go and pay for a burrito. I'd love
Mhm.
Chipotle.
Me
I
too.
still eat it every single day.
I love it.
But these days I'm trying to focus on my macros and like building weight. I've been a small guy for like my whole life, obviously. And so I'm trying to build a lot more weight on me. So I dished a burrito because the tortilla makes me feel slow. And I get a bowl and I tell them to put extra rice on there. I tell them extra white rice and they put extra white rice. But I don't know why they always like sprinkle that shit. I'm like, bro, I need some
You're
more
like,
rice. So I'm like, can I
more.
have brown rice now? And then they add like a little bit of brown rice and they sprinkle on it. I'm like, oh, whatever. Anyways, pinto beans. So I try to get as much rice as I can. And then I dish the burrito because the tortilla makes me feel slow.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
Chicken. Oh, I always do
Chicken.
half meat. Always. Because when you do half meat with like 2 different meats, they always go extra. Because
Yeah,
no one can judge.
I feel like he knew
I do the half chicken, half steak.
and you
a
get
lot.
more meat
You
because
do,
no
yeah.
one, it's really hard to judge what 2 ounces looks like.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be 4 ounces. And it's funny, I know all these like Chipotle numbers. I know
Yeah.
how it all works back there. But it's 4 ounces. It's supposed to be, sometimes they're nice and they give you 5 ounces. But when you ask for 2 meats, it's really hard to like get 2 ounces. Typically you'll get like 3,
Mhm.
sometimes even 4, and so you
Mhm.
always do extra rice and half meat because, you get more food that way.
See, are you glad
All right.
I asked that
I'm going to go to
question?
Chipotle now or do the homemade Taco Bell.
Do the homemade
I
Taco
love it.
Bell.
Yeah, we
I
got to
love
do
it.
that. Where can our audience find you?
So I'm pretty big on Instagram. I'm, trying to get bigger, trying to post every single day. My Instagram is Acevedo Real estate. That's ACEVEDO real estate. Follow me. I'll follow you back. Find me on Facebook, but I'm not too heavy on there. Just follow me on Instagram.
Yeah. And I think if you Google your name, you're on the Megastar Realty website as well.
Yep.
But look them up on on Instagram, guys. And thank you so much for listening today. Share this with your friends and make sure to join us next time. Thanks.
Thanks for having me.